What's up, people? Welcome to this episode of the By the Hood webcast or podcast because I don't know how you're consuming this content. I'm your host, as always. My name is Jimmy. And as we start off every show, just want to say thank you to all our supporters, people out there who purchase the merch, who share the episodes, who connect with us on social media on a daily basis. We just want to say thank you because we appreciate all the support as we continue to try to build out this platform, but also, give back in terms of what we do in the community. So we always start every episode off by saying thank you. As always, I got my partner Corey here with me. Corey, what's going on, brother?
Nothing but love, man. How you feeling, man?
You know, man, it's trying to stay sane in these crazy times, man. But for those listening or maybe watching for the first time, our platform is dedicated to highlighting brothers and sisters who are doing amazing work in the community. So we've had on people from all walks of life. And this next brother right here is doing amazing things. I'm actually a fan of his work, so I reached out to him to see if he would come on and share his story on our platform. This brother is an entrepreneur. He's an author. You've probably seen him maybe on his TED Talk or Sway in the Morning. So he's been around, and he's done a lot of amazing and positive things. And one of the things I want to get into as we have this conversation is all his knowledge on self-publishing. Corey and I have a book called Own Your Time and Space. A lot of people have probably read it that are watching this. And, I've written another book. So I have two self-published books, but I watched a couple of this brother's interviews, and he put me down with like technology and things that I just had no idea about. I said, it would have been a lot easier if I would have had talked to him first. So I wanted to give a little bit of his game. And without further ado, I want to welcome the brother Ash Cash on, man. How are you, sir?
Hey, what's up, brothers? I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm always excited to talk to the people, man. So I appreciate you.
Man, absolutely, man. Like I said, man, you have a wealth of knowledge in terms of self-publishing and all that, but I also know that you have a background in banking. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? Like, how'd you get to where you are now?
Yeah. So, man, I mean, I'm a kid from Harlem, NYC, man, home of the hustlers, man. I grew up in the projects, St. Nicholas houses. And I've been a hustler all my life, man. 8 years old, packing bags at the local supermarket. 12 years old, selling mixtapes and t-shirts as a vendor at Mart 125. And just always been, involved with entrepreneurship. When I got a little older, about 17 years old, was looking to make more money so I could impress the girls. Was veering towards the street life. And my sister had an opportunity for me. Was like she didn't really want me to go towards that street life. And so I wound up getting me a job at a video store, right? Fast Shot to Blockbuster Videos. That was my first job. Did that for about 2 years. I was, because my same hustling mentality, I was one of the top, sellers, like we would upsell videos and upsell rewards and things of that nature. And so because I was one of the top sellers, I got promoted really fast to assistant manager. And then that just started opening my mind as to like what else I could do with my talent. So one of the assistant managers had an opportunity for me to, be a teller at a bank. And so I went for the interview, became a teller. I was 19 years old at the time. Became a teller, and then I realized, man, this is where I'm supposed to be. And so I wound up doing everything in banking. And so from teller, I was a personal banker. I was a private banker, meaning that I managed money for wealthy people starting at $250,000 and above. I was a branch manager. I managed about 4 or 5 branches in my career. I was the CEO of a credit union, so actually one of the youngest CEOs of a federally chartered bank. I was 31 at the time. And then I just, I decided to transition from being a banker to teaching financial education, because one of the things I realized was, as I was working with wealthy clients, I realized that the difference between people who had money and people who didn't have money was their mindset. Like, even if you have the knowledge, if you don't have the proper mindset, you're not going to be successful. And so in the words of the Honorable Sean Carter, Jay-Z once said, there's much bigger issues in the world I know, but I first had to take care of the world I know. And so for me, coming from the hood, coming from the projects, and understanding that a lot of my people were being left behind because they didn't have the financial education, I transitioned to just teaching about money. And so I've written 8 books. 4 of them have been bestsellers. I travel, the country, teaching about financial education. Like you mentioned, I've been on I mean, every single media outlet you could think of, I've probably been on it: television, radio, magazines, things of that nature. And I just work for the people. I just want to kind of, I guess I look at myself as like the Robin Hood of wealth. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to take the knowledge from the wealthy and then give it back to my people so we could move forward and get to the next level.
Absolutely. So some of that mentality, some of the things that you learn from working with wealthy clients, I know it's probably a ton of it, but just give me a couple examples of in terms of how they think versus how the average person thinks.
Yeah, the main thing that I realized, that wealthy people do not work for money. Money works for them. And so if you're wealthy, you've literally changed your relationship with money. I know where we're from, we're taught, right? Go to school, learn a trade, work hard, and then the money comes, right? And the truth of the matter is that that's what allows you to stay in the rat race, right? If you follow that model of working hard so that you can get money, you'll always be in a rat race. When your time is done, your kids are going to be in a rat race. When their time is done, their kids are going to be in a rat race. And so it's about, if you don't come from money, somebody's going to have to work for money. So I'm not saying that initially you don't work for money, but the goal isn't to keep working for money. The goal is to work for money. And then now with that money, you start to buy income producing assets. And these assets are now what's going to give you money going forward. And then those assets get passed down from generation to generation to generation. So now your kids and your grandkids, and even you, as you're on this earth and you start to make that transition, you never have to exchange your time for money. You now are able to exchange value for money, and you can do whatever you want with your time. And so that's what I learned by wealthy people. So wealthy people, whatever they're doing with their time is because they want to do it with their time. Like if they're working on something, it's because they want to work on it. They're not doing it for money. If they are, if they want to spend time with their family, they spend time with their family. They want to go and vacation, they do that because money is not dependent on their time. They've created assets that pay them. And so that's honestly, in a nutshell, the difference between those who are wealthy and those who are not is really that mindset that you don't work for money, right? You're not the employee of money. You're actually the employer, and you tell money what to do. And if you do it the right way, then you'll never have to exchange time for money again.
Okay, man, that's some great bars right there.
He sound like us when we be in the streets preaching, man, like that. He sound like
I know.
He just gave our whole game away.
But that's how you know that he's a man of the people, right? Because that's how you say it in a way that people can explain. Speaking of that, you've written several books, as you mentioned, and I have a couple of your books. In fact, one of your books, I have the actual book, and I got the Audible because you put it on Audible, which is dope. The wake up call one. I got that on Audible, so that's pretty dope. Yeah. But what I found interesting about that, right? So for one, I'm gonna tell you how I came across it. So you did something that I've been wanting to do for years, but the fact that you took action when I've been kind of BSing, which was relate things from hip hop to personal finance, right? And I'm pretty sure that you got a great reception because now people can relate to it in a different way. The question I have is, when you started to take that format, okay, let me take this information, put it into hip hop forms and give it to the people in books. How long did it take for you to become such a master of self-publishing? Because you have ninja secrets, like I've heard you explain like the way that you go about your process of publishing, and you created a whole model, right?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to do that? Because you've written 8 books. At what point did you realize like I could do this a lot easier, a lot more efficient?
Yeah, after book number 4, man. So my first book came out in 2009. And so it's 10, 11 years since I've written my first book. And I'll be honest, my first book did nothing, right? My first book, literally I had hundreds of copies just sitting in the garage doing nothing. And as time went on, I was just like researching. I'm really competitive. I used to play basketball, coming up. And so I'm just competitive. I hate to lose. I'm not a good loser at all. If you like whatever that term sore loser, I'm that. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't let my kids win. Like when my daughter started playing basketball, I was blocking her shots and everything. Like I I don't let my kids win. Let's say I'm just that's just what it is. And so as I started to just study the self-publishing game, really trial and error doing certain things, I just started to realize certain secrets. And the funny thing about it is that, so my first book is called Mind Right, Money Right, 10 Laws of Financial Freedom. And the funny thing about it, in 2009, I've always, I've been listening to hip hop since I've been 8, you know what I'm saying? And so I've always been a hip hop head. And I wanted to merge money and hip hop back then. But because, people were telling me money was too serious, you can't do that, whatever, I snuck it in there, right? Because if you think about it, Mind Right, Money Right is Jay-Z and Memphis Bleek song. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a Jay-Z and Memphis Bleek song. And so when I started thinking, like, I read Think and Grow Rich, and I was like, how can I flip that in a way that we could understand it? I was like, Mind Right, Money Right. And that's where I got the idea from. Like if you read the book, I snuck in, Jay-Z, 50 Cent, Kevin Liles. Like I got a bunch of folks in there that I use their stories or whatever. But it wasn't until I just started stop being afraid to be myself. You know what I'm saying? And that's the honest truth, is that when I stopped being afraid of being myself, that's when I started to see success. And so that's just that with hip hop and mixing that into finance.
That's an interesting point. Can you kind of like go a little bit deeper into what you mean by stop being afraid to be? Because I think a lot of people could take something from that. What do you mean by stop being afraid to be yourself?
Yeah, I think we go out in the world, like we are who we are, right? Like we were born the way we are. We are who we are. Unfortunately, the world tries to put us in a box. Right. And so the world tries to put us in a box, and based on what you do or who you are, or what you say, they say, oh, you like hip hop, so you're in this box. Oh, you're a money guy, so you're in this box. Oh, you play basketball, then you're in this box. Oh, you from Philly? Okay, so you're in this box. Right. And so it's like, nah, like if you go to Philly, like I know tons of different personalities in Philly.
Exactly.
But what happens is that because they push certain personalities up to the forefront, when a guy say he from Philly, you think one thing. When a guy say he from Harlem, you think one thing. When a guy say I'm a hip hop head, you think one thing. And so for me, it was just because people put me in a box, I felt like I had to choose. I was like, damn, right? Like if I say I'm the money guy, because I like obviously I've had a great career in banking, and so I know what I'm doing from a money perspective. And so if I'm saying I'm the money guy and you think of me one way, then I'm like, if I say I'm a hip hop guy, you're probably gonna think of me of a different way. And so I thought I had to choose. And so I was just like, man, who do I want to be? Right. In fact, I would shift between the two. Like, all right, I'm gonna be the money guy today, so I'm gonna wear a suit and walk and talk like the money guy. Then I'm gonna be a hip hop head, so I'm gonna throw the hoodie on and be the, you know what I mean? So I just decided, was like, I was tired of pretending of like it's too much work. So I said, I'm gonna redefine what people think, right, of hip hop heads, right? So just because I listen to hip hop don't mean, you know what I'm saying, like I don't take care of my kids, you know what I'm saying, like these negative stereotypes, you know what I'm saying. And so
but I think a lot of people deal with that. That's why it's a great point, because I think that if you're a doctor, if you're an engineer, you feel like you have to be one way.
Yeah.
And it's just not reality.
So I think that as I got more comfortable, and here's the deal though, right? There's more of us than it is of them, meaning that there's more people wanting you to be yourself and are relieved when they like, oh wow, I'm that guy too, right? The guy who wear the suit also watches World Star Hip Hop. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I mean? So it's more of us, and I think that was the refreshing part for me. When I put out the wake up call, and the reception was just so, it was flooded. It was so dope. In fact, the reception was both, like hip hop heads loved it. I did something with Money Magazine, Yahoo Finance. Like they was shocked because this is something they never saw before. So they was like, Billboard, did something with me. Like this is the first time they saw oh, hip hop is being merged with something serious, and they started giving me love. And so I realized that, like I'm a big Jay fan. So when Jay said, "Yo, I wore do-rags on MTV," I made them love me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I realized that, like, yo, when you start to just be yourself authentically, people will appreciate it. And those who gravitate towards you are gonna gravitate towards you. And those who don't, those are just not your people. And you just got to be comfortable with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. There's
Yeah.
a lot of lessons in that because you never please everybody. So
Never.
it's
Yep.
best just to be yourself anyway. And you said so.
Sure.
Being your authentic self is when the shift happened.
Yep.
And after your fourth book, so in terms of how you write now, because I watched one of the interviews, you said you don't even like necessarily type anymore. Like you just you have it down where
It's a waste of time.
you said never.
Yeah, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time.
All right, so if you're writing, let's just, and by the way, I just got your other book the other day too, so Hustlenomics. I'm getting ready to start that as well. So and that's your most recent release, right?
Yeah, that's my most recent one. Yep.
So I take it in that one you didn't write any of that.
Not none of it.
So what is your process, if you don't mind sharing? Because that's interesting to have someone who's a best-selling author saying, "Yo, I don't write." That's just ill.
Yeah, so I did this in a workshop, and anybody listening, I want you to do this too, right? Just so you can see that this actually works, right? I want you like put a timer on your phone, and I want you to put 1 minute on the timer, and I want you to tell me about something like so if it's your business, if you own a business, in 1 minute, I want you to write down what is your business, right? Most people are not going to be able to do it in 1 minute. They're going to need more than 59 seconds to write, you know what I'm saying, what their business is. Like that, you'll probably get one sentence done in a minute, right? And now take that same timer, and I want you to tell me about your business. I promise you'll be able to do it in less than 20 seconds, right? And so the reason for it is that when you think about it logically, if I think about a thought, I now have to think about that thought, and now that thought has to go from my brain to my fingertips, and I have to write it down. But it's not coming out fluid because now I'm thinking about grammar, I'm thinking about, am I saying it right? I'm thinking about, writing it proper and all that stuff, punctuation. So now I've wasted time, right? But if I tell you about my business, I'm gonna tell you how it comes out, and I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna tell you, that I'm a financial educator who mixes psychology and finance in order to help people change their mindset. I did that in 10 seconds. If I wrote it, there's no way it would have happened. And so when I realized that, I realized that's the key to writing books. In fact, the reason why my books do well is because I write the way I talk, right? And so what I realized was that, especially with technology, it would be a waste of time for you to literally sit there and try to write a book and do all that stuff. And so what my process is that I always start with the end in mind. I say to myself, I have this book idea. What is it that I want people to get out of this book, right? And so if we use Jay-Z's The Wake Up Call, so Jay-Z did 444. I listened to the album. I felt like, 80% of the album was about building wealth and generational wealth, but 20% was about, him and infidelity with Beyonce. Because everybody, loves the sensationalization of like infidelity and all that stuff. That was the talk. Everybody was talking about that. So I'm like, nah, don't miss this nugget. Like, this dude is about to be a billionaire at the time, literally giving you the game step by step, and how y'all gonna miss that? And so I said, all right, you know what? I did it as a workshop first, teaching people who were going to schools and stuff. And then I said, you know what? I'm gonna put it into a book. And so as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yo, what's the end in mind? Like, if somebody read this book, what do I want them to get out of it? So I want them to get out how to build generational wealth. And so now that's the end. And then so I go back and I outline it, right? Similar way is if I was writing a speech. That's how I do. I say, yo, what's the end? Like, when this speech is over, what do I want my audience to walk away with? So I start there, and then I work backwards. I say, all right, here's how I start. Here's here's the different steps, and this is the way I go. And so by doing that, I now have an outline, right? A blueprint. I got the end in mind. I have each chapter, what each chapter looks like, and then I bullet point everything. And then I literally just act as if I'm teaching it. And so, like, I could literally get everything done in about 10 hours. Like that's been my max so far. Like if I write a book, I outline everything. I go 5 days, 2 hours a day, and in 10 hours I got a full book. And honestly, that's because that's the most difficult part. The most difficult part is the creative part, is the story, is what, is your knowledge. And so, but it's the easiest part, because if you're writing on something that you're passionate about, if you're writing about something that if you're writing something that you're very knowledgeable about, the easy part is just really just conducting the workshop, right? It's just having that conversation. And then, obviously you have to go back. There's editing that needs to be done. There's stories that you need, like even when you think about Hustlenomics, right? Like when I thought about Hustlenomics, I said, people are focused on his music, which he was dope, but he also had a movement as it relates to ownership and money and, and business. And so I didn't want people to miss that. And so I wanted to, come up with a guide. And so there were some creative things that I did after I wrote the book, meaning when I think about that he died at 33, and Jesus died at 33, and 33 is a master number, right? Like it means you're a master teacher if you're into numerology. And so I wanted to, and his name was Hermias. And so I wanted to make it creative, and so I created what was called Hermiasms, right? Like, so I did 33 Hermiasms, and I had to go back and research quotes that match with what I was talking. So all of that stuff was afterwards. So that's why the book wasn't done after I dictated it. I had to edit, I had to, add the creative elements into it. I had to make sure it flows. So all that process still just stays the same, but all that is technical, right? Like the creative part, I already was able to get it out. And that process works for me. I'll probably, I wanted to do 3 books this year, but the Rona kind of
changed everything.
Yeah. So I might do 2. But that's going to be my process. I'm gonna get them out real easy, outline them, speak them, edit, get it edited. There's 2 ways I do it. In the beginning, I started doing, I tried to do like text to speech, but, it wasn't really picking up as well. So I found that was annoying. So then I started to just do a voice record. And then based on the voice record, I would send that to Fiverr or Upwork, where they would, where they would translate it for me. I did find a new app called Otter, OTTER. And Otter is free. It gives you up to 30 hours for free, and then after that, you have to pay for it. But so far, it's been dope. So if anybody wants to try that process, download Otter. It might, it works for you. It might work for you. Then you order.
Yeah, that's the one you told me about.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I was using that to transcribe my book.
Okay, that's interesting, man. It's just amazing to hear someone again who's a best-selling author say, "Yo, I don't even write." Like, but that's interesting. So you dictate or send it to someone in Fiverr or use Otter, whatever that may be. You get it back, and so what other apps do you use throughout this process? Is it just like Fiverr, Otter, or anything else?
Yeah, just Fiverr or Otter. I use Fiverr for my book covers, my book cover and the inside design. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as like putting the book out, I use Amazon KDP, and I also use Ingram Sparks, and that's the secret that people don't realize is that, and that's helped my sales incrementally, right? Meaning that.
Okay, can you explain that? You said Ingram Sparks?
Yeah, Ingram Sparks, right? So Ingram, INGRAM, is one of the largest, I think is the largest book distributor for independent books, right? And then thousands of independent bookstores. So when people think about bookstores, they think about Barnes and Nobles and Books A Million and all these other big chains. But there are a lot of like small independent bookstores, and there are thousands of them. And so Ingram is actually the distributor for those, independent bookstores. And so when I learned that, I was like, oh, that's the game changer. And so what I realized is that, like, let's say I put out a book, right? And then I get like a lot of publicity. People hear me on the radio or whatever. They see me on television, and then they go and try to go to an independent bookstore and buy my book. If it's not in Ingram, the bookstore is not going to buy it. And so I was missing out on sales because, people, somebody walks into a bookstore and they're like, yo, I want to buy the wake up call or whatever. And then they can't order it or nothing. When they leave, you know, if they're really into it, they might check it online on Amazon. But they wanted to make that sale right there, and so I might have lost a lot of sales doing it that way. But now that I have it on Amazon and I have it in the bookstores, everybody who would have bought it on Amazon is buying it on Amazon. But then those people who want to buy at a bookstore could go to the bookstore, and if the bookstore doesn't carry it, they can order it. And what I've realized too was as the demand started to increase, now the bookstore is like, whoa, if you ask me about this book, this got to be hot. Let me check it out. And then they was ordering, you know, books and actually putting it on their shelves. You know, I had people walk up to me like, yo, I read your book. I got it from the library. And I'm like, yo, I never gave my book to the library, but I realized when the demand is there and people could go and, you know, get your information, then it makes it easier. So those are the two things I do. I put it on Amazon, and I also put it on Ingram Sparks.
Oh man, that's a lot of game right there, man. Appreciate you sharing that.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question though, because you do use a lot of references to lyrics and because you're a hip hop guy. Do you ever got any like pushback like from artists or any positive feedback? Have you got anything from artists in terms of like, you know, how's that work in terms of using their lyrics? Although I guess it's fair use because you're using it for a whole different reason.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, definitely fair use. You know, it's definitely fair use. I mean, I get pushback from fans more than the artists, right? So like, gotcha. You know, because and it's fair game. You know what I'm saying? Once you put yourself out there as a public figure, you're gonna have the people who really don't know the full story, and they're gonna come at you how they come at you. Like I remember when I first put the book out, the Wake Up Call actually, and you could Google it actually. If you go to Google and you type in 444 book, let's say, or the Wake Up Call. You're going to notice that there's two different covers, right? The first cover actually looked exactly like Jay-Z's album, right? Because Jay-Z's album was just like a peach color and the number 444. That's it, you know?
Yeah.
And then so for me, when I saw that, I was like, oh, you know, he can't copyright a color or a number. So I said, oh, let me do that. Let me throw that out there.
That's good marketing.
Good marketing, right? And so when I put the book out, you know, it did well. In fact, like I actually interviewed that title. So if you look it up, like I
saw that. I'm a subscriber. I think you interviewed with Bleak, right?
Yeah, I interviewed with Bleak, his nephew Rel, and Brian Axelrod, who is head of promotions for Duce. And so we was up there with the book, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I know from connections that Jay knows about the book, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you know what I mean? Like, so it was all love. But then everybody was like, I mean, the haters who didn't really know what was going on were like tagging Lenny S on stuff, were like hitting Rock Nation. Like they were like, oh, did you give him permission to like people who didn't know me from nowhere, like, yo, did you give him a permission to do this? Yo, you a culture vulture? Like, why you taking advantage of the culture? Like all this craziness. And actually I was getting so much heat from like the audience, and like they were tagging Emory Jones on stuff. So I was like, yo, let me just change this cover before like somebody come for my neck. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the reason why I changed the cover, because it was just so much negativity that I didn't really necessarily want. But like you said, from a perspective of using their lyrics, you know what I'm saying? It's the same difference from like, you know, someone writing an article about them, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no difference, you know, because I'm quoting it, but then majority of the book is my words explaining what they meant and tying the two in. So no real flack from the artist, you know, anything like that. Interesting about the Nipsey Hussle book was that I was gonna write Hustlenomics right after Victory Lap came out. And you know, I don't regret it because you know, everything happens, you know, the way it's supposed to happen. But I remember I had a friend who worked at Atlantic, who was on Nipsey Hussle's project, and I reached out to my friend and I was like, yo, I need to get next to Nip. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to do, I want to do the book with, you know. So after Jay, I wrote a Kanye West book, Making Sense of Kanye, which really didn't do well because he had so much bad publicity about saying, you know, the Trump stuff and the 400 years of slavery that nobody wanted to do anything. No one wanted to have anything to do with Kanye. So Making Sense of Kanye really didn't do that well. And so I was saying, yo, I love this idea. Let me start getting next to these artists and do it with them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that was my first attempt with Nipsey Hussle. But then, you know, other businesses that I had started to pick up, and I got too busy. And so I never really followed up on it. And then, you know, unfortunately, he passed away. And then that's the reason, though, why I decided to give the book out for free. Right. And so if you go to hustlenomics.com, you can actually download the book for free.
Yeah.
Because I remember what people were saying about, you know, the wake up call. And in fact, when I put out that I was giving, so here's the thing, when I put out that I was giving the book away for free, I still had people like coming at my neck, like, yo, you trying to take advantage, your culture vulture and all that stuff. And then even, you know, me deciding to sell the book was around, you know, people saying, yo, I want a physical copy. You know what I'm saying? And people don't know behind the scenes. You know, I've talked to his camp, but then there was a lot of stuff going on. And that's why, you know, I didn't get their like official blessing. You know, like I've donated tons of books to schools and things that, you know what I'm saying? So I haven't profited from Hustlenomics. Like you know, like my goal is just to, you know, keep it alive. But I say all that to say is that, you know, to your question, is that I haven't really gotten flack from, you know, any of the artists individually. It's really just like outside people. I am working on, I do have 3 more ideas that I want to work on with one artist in particular. I'm close. Oh, so actually 2 artists. So one artist, I'm actually going to write the book. So we met. And we've talked, and like I've sat with them for 2 hours and got their perspective or whatever the case may be. And so I'm gonna put that book out. And you know, I'll still work with that person or whatever. And then there's another artist that would like, I mean, and this is a top-notch artist. Like this is like, you know, somebody who's like, you know, top 5 maybe. You know what I'm saying?
Got you.
You know, and I reached out to somebody that I know that knows him. So he knows about the idea. The only problem with this is that everybody is reaching out to him about this particular type of book, right? And so this is an artist that is doing a lot of money-related things. And so because they're doing a lot of money-related things, other people, you know, it's like an easy layup. And so everybody's like, yo, we should do a book about this money-related stuff that you're doing. And so I'm sort of like in line in a way, you know what I'm saying?
Got you.
You know what I mean?
But you've proven the concept, which is amazing. Because like I said, it's something I want to do. And actually, myself, Corey, another friend, we started and this is funny because it's interesting because a lot of times you'll have an idea and you think you're the only one with it, and then you see someone else execute it, and you're like,
for sure.
you know what I mean? You see someone execute, like, damn, that's dope. But you know, a lot of times that's how things work out. But it wasn't necessarily exactly what you did, but it was in the similar vein in terms of tying lyrics to money concepts. And I have to ask you this because we know you're a huge Jay fan, right?
Yeah.
But you've been writing about this and using hip hop lyrics way before 444.
For sure.
So with that being said, when you first heard, I gotta get this as a fan, I want to hear your perspective on this. When you first heard the album, like what was your reaction to that as someone who was already tying the two things together? Man,
so number one, I didn't get past Story of OJ, right? Like you know, song number 2 is Story of OJ. So when I listened to Story of OJ, and he was like, "Yo, what's better than what's better than spending your money in a strip club? Credit." I was like, "Oh," so like I actually, because I didn't know the whole album was that. So I got stuck on that. I listened to that song like maybe 8 times before I went to the rest of the album. It was like one of the most exhilarating things to ever hear, because number one, Jay is the GOAT, right? Like he's the guy who, you know, is going to go down, in my opinion, as one of the, you know, the greatest of all time as it relates to hip hop business. And so when I think about that, when I heard that, I was like, yo, it's crazy that he's doing that. Number 2, I got so excited because I know that back in the day, people who were walking did not buy 4.0 Range Rovers because he was so influential. Like, I remember, right? Like, I had to be like 16.
Imaginary Player came out. Yo, listen, Imaginary Player came out. You could not buy a 4.0 if you listened to Imaginary Player. You could not.
Yo, but I'm taking it one further. I'm 16 years old. don't even have a driver's license, don't got no job, can't spend no money on nothing, and I would literally see a 4.0 and be clowning the driver. Like, yo, get out of here, bro. How you got a 4.0? Get out of here, bro. You know what I mean? That's crazy. Like, and so this dude is so influential that you can't even afford what you joking on somebody with, but you like, nah, I'm never gonna get that, right? X5s. Once he said, yo, I don't drive X5s, I give it to the baby mamas, same thing. You see a dude in an X5, you be like, oh, yo, you lame, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm trying to say? Button-ups, right? This dude say, yo, I don't wear jerseys no more. I wear button-ups. Mitchell and Ness, out of here. All these gangsters start wearing button-ups. You know what I'm saying? So this dude was so influential that when I heard him talking this money game, I said, yo, thank you, money gods. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, like, it's gonna push my message, you know, towards the forefront. So I was excited. And then once I got past story of OJ and he was still dropping game, I said, man, this is different. You know what I'm saying? So it was a you know, exciting time. You know what I'm saying?
And I know just
June 30th, 2017 at midnight. Know what I'm saying? That's what I was. Like, I knew it was dropping. I waited till midnight. I know exactly where I was when I heard it, what I was doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I could imagine this is something this is a wave that you've already been on. Yeah. So how is it to see now that that's like, you know, money and finance to be talked about within the culture? Yep. Because again, this is something that you were on before the culture got there, but now to see it, you know, I guess it's like, what a time to be alive, as they would say. So to see that, what kind of transition has that been for you to see things you were talking about over a decade ago now to become like regular topics?
Yeah, you know, it's one of those. I feel like a pioneer almost. You know what I'm saying? Like at first, you know, like I embrace, you know, everybody in the culture who's talking money, mixing hip hop. And at first, like, you know, some of the young guys would be like, yo, you the OG. And I didn't accept that because I'm like, nah, I ain't no OG. Like I'm still active. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, don't call me no OG. Like you get called OG when you like ready to give up, you know what I mean? When you ready to like fall back.
Yeah.
And so, you know, at first I was like against that. I was like, nah, I ain't the OG. We out here doing this together. But as I really kind of take a step back and realize, like, I used to write for allhiphop.com back in 2011, you know what I'm saying? And so I've been, you know, doing this for a long time, mixing the two. And so, it's exhilarating because when you think about what the goal wasn't for me to get famous doing this. The goal wasn't for me to get an award for being the first one. The goal was to get our people to change their mindset about money. So whether I'm doing it, whether you're doing it, whether it's my guys at Earn Your Leisure, like whoever, you know what I'm saying? Like whoever's doing it, it doesn't really matter because we're talking to the same people and we're pushing the same message. In fact, it's like juice. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't go to Walmart and just because there's orange juice, you'll never drink fruit punch. Like, if you want to quench your thirst, you're going to quench your thirst. And so whether you rock with Ash Cash, whether you rock with By the Hood, you know what I'm saying? Like for me, I'm always in the spirit of collaboration instead of competition, because in this particular space, you know what I'm saying? Like you know what I mean? What Hov said, yo, it ain't many of us. I mean, less is more. There's plenty of us. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I'm like, nah, like we need more. Like we need more of us out here. And so if whoever's doing it, as long as your intention is right and you out here moving the culture forward, I'm with you. So it feels good. You know what I'm saying? It feels good to be, you know, to get the validation, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Because a funny story is that it was 2009. 2009, it was a hip hop artist, you know, very popular, old school, like I'm gonna call her old school, but you know, very popular artist. Let me just say that, right? Female artist, one of the GOATs, right? Her and I have a relationship. And she had bought some of the work that I was doing to BET, you know, to kind of like, and this was early. This is like I said, I think 2009, 2010-ish. And so, you know, she bought my stuff to BET, but at the time, like nobody wanted to, you know, like they was like, yo, this wouldn't even work, right, on BET, because everybody was, you know, thinking about reality, fighting. Like nobody was caring, nobody was acting responsible, meaning from a television perspective, responsible TV wasn't in yet. And so literally they didn't give me no burn. It was like, nah, this wouldn't work or whatever. And then fast forward, you know, I did a bunch of stuff with BET, you know what I'm saying, later on. And so to know that this is the norm now, like this is actually the norm, and especially 2020, and you'll see in 2020, we're going to be open more than ever to this. You know what I'm saying? To the money game, how to create multiple streams of income, all that. And so it's just a matter of just waiting. You know what I'm saying? Like timing is everything. And so this is actually a message for people who have an idea, who you know, did not execute on the idea, but also are ready to give up on the idea, or if they did execute on it, it didn't move the way it moved. Like, never ever give up. You know what I'm saying? Meaning that if you started the idea and it's not taking traction, if you believe in the idea, stick it out. If you didn't believe in the idea and then you see other people doing it, now do it, right? Because what's going to happen is that what I was able to do and what others are doing right now is we're opening the door to that conversation. And there are millions of us, right? And so it's not going to be like, we're never going to saturate the market. Like, if, you know, like when I do a show, when I do a podcast, like it's not because of that, nobody's going to be like, I'm not going to listen to these guys because of these guys. So, excuse me, it's like twofold. It's like, yo, never give up. But even if if you did procrastinate, don't ever think that it's too late, because you're always going to put your own spin to it. And that's the thing. Like for me, I'm Ash Cash, so nobody can't really teach money the way I can teach it. And so I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah. And that's amazing. And the one things I can say is, about the time we're living in is the whole idea of collaboration over competition. And that was an amazing interview you did with Earn Your Leisure. And shout out to Troy and Rashad, because they've actually been on here as well. And you know, like I said, everyone in this space is kind of like generous with their time, and they build together, as opposed to, you know, the whole competition thing. Because like you said, it's enough. Everybody can eat, B. Like,
right,
there's enough for everybody, right? You know what I mean? Like that's what it is, man. So, man, to get from where you started to where you are now, what would you say has been the biggest hurdle? And I think you probably already answered this, unless you have a different answer, which was being your authentic self. Yep. Would that be your answer to that question as well?
No, honestly, the biggest, I would say that being your authentic self, I wouldn't necessarily say it was a hurdle, because at the end of the day, it just prolonged my success, right? Like, I could have been more successful than I am now had I been my authentic self. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a hurdle. It was just like a self-imposed restriction and limitation that didn't really allow me to maximize my full potential.
So what has been a hurdle?
Yeah. So if I would pick out a hurdle, I would say that the biggest hurdle was not staying in the moment, and not focusing on what was now, and was focused on what was tomorrow more than what was now. Because what happens was, you know, I would, let's say, be in a situation and get some success doing it. Mm-hmm. And because I was so forward thinking, I was thinking about next, I never really like squeezed that opportunity till was nothing left. I already in my mind moved on to something else. And so I was comfortable. Like, if 10,000 people knew me from this one thing, why not make 100,000 people know me? Why not make 1 million people know me? Because I already proved that it's, you know, that people love this concept. And so that's been my biggest hurdle, because even when I see other people who have done things that, you know, that I same sort of situation where I had this idea a long time ago, and I could have been in this space, but because I let it go too fast, I didn't fully maximize it. And that has held me back to the point where sometimes it feels like I'm starting over, right? Like, even with all the success that I've had, all the accolades, all of this stuff, you know, sometimes I feel like, damn, I'm about to start this over. Like, I'll give you a prime example. Like, I had a podcast 4 years ago, right? And my podcast, I had a live radio show in New York, and I would podcast it. I had great subscribers, was doing well, or whatever the case may be. You know, had hella downloads, was getting sponsors. But then when I moved from New York to Atlanta, I was like, nah, you know what? I don't want to do podcasting, right? I want to be on actual radio. Oh, I want to do television. And so because that was my thought process, I kind of let it go. And then now when I'm realizing that radio is dying, I'm like, shit, I should have jumped. You know what I mean? I should have kept on. Right. And so now I'm at a space where I'm looking to do some podcasting, but now I got to start the podcast all over again. So that's the one thing that I feel like has been a hurdle, is that I stop my success by not like squeezing out, you know what I'm saying, like everything to its maximum. I'll give you a prime example, like my books. Like I've sold thousands of books, right? Like I've sold thousands of books. And so, but why can't I sell 1 million? Like, why can't I sell 1 million books as a self-published author? Like, why should I move on to something else when I could just take what's working with these books and then just squeeze it and just get more people to know about me? And so that was my biggest hurdle, but also my biggest lesson is to, if you find success in something, like max out. Like, do not, you know what I mean? Do not be quick to move to the next thing before you max out on that thing that's giving you success.
Yeah, it's a lot of game in that too. But at the same time, though, when you're someone who's always looking towards the future, like, because it sounds like you're creative. So as a creative, you want to be on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like some sort of like balance between maxing things out, but also like, because as a creative, you want to move on to what's next.
Yeah,
right? So
sure.
you're always. So I guess it's like the curse of being ahead of everyone else.
For sure. No, absolutely. And honestly, though, I think that, and this is the conclusion I came to, that creatives are always going to be creative. You know what I'm saying? Like even if I let an idea go past, that's just how my brain works. Like, you take me to 2030, I'm still going to be creating. And so I'm going to stop moving in that lack mentality, as if I don't move on this particular idea, I missed out on something, because I'm always going to have that brain. And also it's similar like Steve Harvey and the Kevin Hart, right? Like, these guys will max out on everything so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what happens is, when they max out, the stuff starts to come to them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's how, even as a creative, I don't think you should balance. I think as a creative, you create something, and if that thing is taken off, put the metal to the pedal and max out on that thing. Because a couple of things, if you max out on it, you already know you're successful, right?
Okay.
A prime example, like, if I sell 1 million books as a self-published author, I don't need nobody to give me a deal. I could fund everything that all these ideas, I could fund them myself.
Yeah.
And so I feel like as a creative, once you find something that works for you, like Jay, right? Jay found music and he maxed out on it. And that's what gave him clothing line, liquor, businesses, streaming services.
So you leverage that one thing that you found that works. It's funny, right? I was just reading the Berkshire Hathaway annual report that Buffett writes up every year, because that's what I do when I'm bored. I know that sounds crazy, but
it's a good thing to do.
But I wrote down something that he said in there, and it reminded me of what you just said. He said that we are all duds at one thing or another. He said, for most of us, the list is long. The important point is to recognize that if you're Bobby Fischer, you must play only chess for money. And what he's saying is, when you find that one thing that you're good at, go full throttle on that. And like, even if you want to do some of these other things, like when you talk about making money, like you said, pedal to the metal with that thing that you know you're good at, right? So that's interesting that you said that, because I literally wrote that down. I was like, damn, that's a bar. But yeah, man. So, oh man, thank you for sharing all this information with us, man. So last thing I want to ask you before we get out of here is what's the future, right? So you're successful with the books. You talked about a little bit more media in terms of bringing the podcast back and things. Anything else that you got in the future?
Yeah, so right now I'm working on a TV series. I mean, it's going to be a TV series and a podcast called Inside the Vault. So y'all can follow the Instagram handle, Inside the Vault. So that's coming out really soon. And then one of the things I realized as a person that gives out this knowledge, there's a lot of people that come to me for implementation. So people who are like, yo, how do I invest? Or how do I do this? How do I do that? And so I'm looking to expand Mind Right Money Management. So my company is called Mind Right Money Management. And Mind Right Money Management is really just a financial education space where I'm only teaching, but now I want to do implementation. And so that's going to look like, helping people with investing. That's going to look like, helping people, with life insurance and other, estates and wills and other, wealth building processes. And so it's going to, it's morphing to not just giving the information, but also helping people, implement as well.
Okay. All right, man. So I'll make sure that I share that handle in terms of what you got going on. So before we get out of here, Corey, you got any specific questions you asked before we got out of here, Corey?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. One, besides Jay-Z, what other artists gives you inspiration?
So besides Jay, um, man, who else inspires me? So I mean, Nip definitely inspires me. I love like 50's hustle is, is like I love, you know what I mean? I love his hustle. Who else do who else do I am inspired by? Nas is somebody who inspires me a lot. Killer Mike is somebody that I'm tapped into. David Banner, I'm tapped into. I mean, there's others, but I would say those are like the main ones.
They're investors. So
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Inspired.
Exactly.
So as soon as you gave me the list, I was like, I know exactly why he's tapped into them.
Yeah. Because you know what? I think for me, I want to be able to relate to the people that inspire me, right? Like I want to be able to see, like a
part of yourself.
Exactly, like a 50 who's from Southside Jamaica, Queens, who got shot. Not like I ain't never get shot, but you know what I'm saying? Like
I got you.
You know what I mean? Like
got you.
to see what he's doing, with television. Like I just love that diversity in that. And so those are definitely the guys that that I'm inspired by for sure.
Let me ask you a question though. As a huge Jay fan, and we all know what 444 meant to you. Mm-hmm. Is that your favorite Jay album at this point because it would have meant to you?
Nah, Blueprint all day.
Blueprint, come on, man. Reasonable Doubt, man. Reasonable Doubt.
Yeah, I think I honestly
neither one of those is my favorite album.
Which one is yours?
Black Album.
Black Album is up there.
You can't go wrong with it. But Reasonable Doubt to me, like when I heard that, it was just man. Anyway, but go ahead though.
So that's my top three though. So right, and so it's funny that we said that because it's my top three. So I'm going Blueprint, Reasonable Doubt, Black Album. And the reason why, so the thing is that there's always music makes you feel a way, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so for me, I was 15 when Reasonable Doubt came out. And so I was just being like tapped in. I was excited because he the first guy to talk that hustler talk. Like prior to that, you know what I'm saying? You had Queens, like I'm from the East Coast. You had Queens, but they was either like fly or they was like grimy.
Yeah.
And so coming from Harlem, like we hustlers, you know what I'm saying? Like we, like the guys who was getting money wasn't the shooters. Like they had the grimy dude shooting, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so to be somebody who was a hustler, like you relate to that. And so that's why but I didn't, I wasn't a hustler though. I wasn't like selling drugs and like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't appreciate Reasonable Doubt until I got a little older. But Black Album, Blueprint, I'm a little older. I'm in my, what I'm trying to say? And
it's a timing thing. It's like how I relate to it.
Sure.
Yeah. Although my favorite song is on none of those, which is Imaginary Player.
Yeah.
Like
it's on Volume 1, which is my second favorite song.
Which I tell Corey all the time.
Allure is my favorite song.
You talk about a song making you feel away. Every time I put that on, my net worth feel like it increases by 100,000.
Facts. I feel that.
That's my second favorite Jay song. That's my second. Allure take me to a place because I was a hustler. Absolutely. So Allure take me to a whole different place. But my second favorite song from Jay is Imaginary Player, because Jay, like Jim said, like I just feel like my net worth doubled up. As soon as I put it on, like damn, I'm worth double what I was before I put this joint on.
All right, very last question, Ash, before we get out of here, man. As someone who's a best-selling author, right? What book is your favorite book or has inspired you as an author? Something that you read from another author?
Yeah, so I got three. I got three of them. Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, Napoleon Hill. 4 Agreements, Don Miguel. And The Alchemist. Alchemist. So those 3 books I read once a year, at least once a year. So Think and Grow Rich, 4 Agreements, and The Alchemist, because and they're all for different reasons. But those are the ones that like inspire me. In fact, that when I wrote Mind Right, Money Right, it was Think and Grow Rich that kind of gave me the inspiration to want to write it and update that philosophy. 4 Agreements just gives me a way to live. You know, it gives me the right way to live. And then Alchemist is just a reminder that everything you need in life, you might be looking elsewhere for everything, but everything is right where you started, which is within. And so that's why I love that book so much as well.
Oh man, those are 3 excellent books. Excellent
I've
books.
I've read all 3 of those books, and you're right. They put you in different spaces.
And that's how I am with Powernomics and Richest Man in Babylon. Those are 2. Those are 2 those are my like every year reads. Like it's every year. So, oh man, Ash, listen, man. I just want to say much continued success. We appreciate you sharing your time with us, man. And we're going to share everything you do. Thanks for building with us, and we look forward to everything you got going on, man. We're going to make sure we share with our audience anytime you drop anything, because again, you're on the same wavelength. And our objective is to teach the people. It's not even about us. It's about the people. So I just want to say thank you, man, and continued success.
No, I appreciate you, Kings. Yeah, thank you so much. And keep doing what y'all doing. And let's definitely continue to build, because that's
absolutely.
You know what I mean? What Hov said, nobody wins when the family feuds. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here,
yeah.
I want to say thank you to you and whatever audience that that you're going to bring to our show, and we're going to bring to you.
Yep.
I want to say thank you to those people.
Yes.
I want to say thank you to our current audience for showing us so much love. Like, y'all showing an amazing amount of love. And I want to say thank you to our sponsors, because our audience are our sponsors. Like, whatever we do, our audience makes sure we can do it.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I want to say thank you to those people that are helping us get to where we want to go. And to all of our guests that have been on so far, and to you specifically, since you're here right now, you know what I mean? Like, y'all made our podcast as successful as it is, because every time y'all go out and do something good, we get the love back.
Absolutely, man. And what you're doing is important too, man. What you're doing is definitely important, man. How you bring the cultures together. So, to our audience out there, make sure you share this, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. You know what I mean? Not going to inundate you with that, but and also check out what Ash has going on. Check out all his future projects. Make sure you get those books. Hustlenomics, I just started that book. I've read like 3 of your other books, like and I actually bought Hustlenomics, right? I was like, I show love, even though I know I can get it for free. I was like, no, let me show love. Because another thing about the book is too, you didn't even charge that. I got the Kindle joint, so it was like, you didn't even charge that much. So it was worth it though.
Yeah. Right, so, but no, it was $3.31.
Yeah,
which coincides with the date. Like everything is numerology, right? So he died.
I didn't even put that together.
See what I'm saying?
I didn't even put that together.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's exactly what it cost.
$3.31.
That's for the culture.
Yeah, for sure.
If you started a book for $3.31, that's definitely.
That's why I said I gotta buy it. I said he's giving it away for free, but he's only charging $3.31. I said I give him that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And also, real quick, Audible, because I got the other book, I got the physical copy, but I also have the Audible on the Wake Up Call. But are you going to put your future stuff on Audible too? Like,
no, absolutely, yeah. Hustlenomics is almost done, so that's coming out on Audible, but definitely, because like I have, salute to all the Uber drivers and the Lyft drivers who also support me as well, and so that's why every single project I put out, I always put it on Audible, because they will hit me directly like, yo, fam, I'm driving. I need some knowledge, and so that's why.
And I know I said last question, but now that you brought that up real quick though, in terms of doing that piece, do you record it yourself or do you go to a professional? Like how do you do the Audible recording piece?
Yeah, I record it myself, man, because at the end of the day, as a speaker, I want it's a marketing tool, right? So my books, all of that stuff is a marketing tool, and so I want people to be able to hear my voice and to hear, especially because I write it the way I talk, and there's certain parts that I want you to feel more than others, so that I don't want to put that in nobody else's hands. So I like literally, you know what I'm saying, got my own mic. I record it myself. I send it out to Fiverr. They take the air out, and then I upload it to acx.com, which is owned by Amazon, and that's how you get it on Audible and iTunes and all that.
Oh man, that's another thing. I gotta give you credit. I gotta give you credit too, because you don't mind sharing the game, man.
Yeah, like you just put it all out there.
So I learned a long time ago that knowledge is the one thing you could give away without losing any.
Ooh, that's a bar.
Bar.
All right, man. Because you dropping too many gems out here, man. Listen, man. Again, thank you, good brother, man. We appreciate you, and to our audience, man. As we always say, it's not about how much money you make; it's about how much you keep. Game elevates, man, and we'll see y'all chumps on top.